Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be covering this great article I found titled "Give me 30 minutes and I will kill your entrepreneurial dream." It's quite a long one, so I've essentially highlighted all the parts we're going to read and the rest we're going to skip because it didn't really add too much. So it should make it go a bit quicker. As always, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more of this type of content, and don't forget to give me your thoughts below. So, tech entrepreneurship is the modern American fairy tale, a shimmering promise that you, yes you, can defy the odds, rewrite the rules, and become the next Steve, Jeff, Steve, or Mark. That's of course Jeff Bezos, Steve Jobs, or Mark Zuckerberg that they're referring to. And I think that first opening sentence I do agree with, although it is like the American dream, especially since the 2000s, I think, to become this like tech entrepreneur. And I think it's only recently started to change where like the younger generations are sort of don't care about that anymore. Although hustle culture, I think, is still very much alive. So it's the intellectual equivalent of buying scratch-offs at a gas station and calling it an investment strategy. Only here the stakes aren't a $20 loss and some sticker residue. The stakes are your life, your sanity, and your life savings. Those are some pretty stark words, but I guess if you really are doing a proper startup, not just like quiet quitting and building something on the side, this is true. You know, you could be spending years of your life doing something that's going to fail. So in America, land of freedom fries and dystopian optimism. I'll be honest, despite some of the stuff I cover, I do consider myself an optimist. Like when it comes to myself, I am like super optimistic, more so than other people, I think. And and the entrepreneur is our ultimate folk hero. I'm not gonna lie, like the last sort of 10 years, my favorite show was Silicon Valley. I was a big fan of like this idea of becoming a tech entrepreneur, so I do really feel like this speaks to me. And probably speaks to a lot of you as well. So we don't idolize teamwork or sustainability here. That's in America. What they're saying. We idolize the loner in a hoodie scribbling on a whiteboard in a garage they likely don't own. Again, this is true. It's like an idealized version of what it is. There's so many stories of people starting out of their garage to build these tech companies. The reality is, I think, whilst we all still like to pretend, it's all just changed so much. I think back then it was cool. Now it's just like something that everyone wants to do. So, moving on. The cult of the American founder, or why we worship people who don't sleep. Americans love a narrative. I actually think it's harsh to say Americans love a narrative. I think everyone loves a narrative. We're a country built on storytelling. Should have highlighted that as well. I think this is all of history and society. It's sort of, I think humans naturally like narratives and stories. But yes, MAGA, hate Trump or love Trump, is a narrative, and it's a really simple one. Make America great again. It's also doesn't actually mean anything. The word great is abstract, and it can mean different things to different people. So that's a nice, easy narrative for people to follow. So we've replaced our old heroes, explorers, pioneers, generals with founders and business leaders. Again, true, look at the people that are sort of idealized in our culture. It does tend to be, it's not generals, that's certain. And it's not even pioneers. By pioneer here, I would think of like intellectuals. The only intellectuals that are sort of celebrated in terms of like pioneers are like really, I feel like from the last scientists from the last century, like your Einsteins. And not just any of the above, but the rare mythic few who elevate to demigod status. This is also true. Like, again, if you go back, look at Elon Musk, like before everyone online started to hate him. He was elevated to this sort of demigod status, especially within Silicon Valley. So we frame these people as prophets, geniuses. The geniuses thing is such a common thing. And I think it's because people just like to project that the reason they're able to do that is because they're geniuses rather than any other reason. But anyway, continue reading. Never mind that Steve Jobs was ousted from his own company. I mean, everyone knows Steve Jobs was a pretty dodgy person. You could argue that his temperament sort of was required to get the results they got. But yeah, keep in mind, Elon Musk was also ousted from PayPal whilst he was on holiday. Jack Ma failed his college entrance exams. But Jack Ma's quite open. Yeah, I mean, Jack Ma's quite open about this. I definitely don't think he's a genius. I've seen him, but he's a hard worker. Elizabeth Holmes is in jail. Yeah, rightfully so. Although, is she in jail yet? Henry Ford tried to build a utopia in the Amazon called Fordlandia. I never heard about this. Blockbuster's John Antonio passed on buying Netflix for 50 million. Yeah, probably regrets that a little bit, but you know, if you have 50 million, you're probably not doing too badly yourself. Sam Bankman-Fried is in jail. Again, good. Bill Gates didn't believe mobile was going to take off. I think Zuckerberg was the same. I think Zuckerberg was behind on mobile. I think he's talked about that. Henry Ford bankrupted 2 auto companies early on. You know, almost every car company has gone bankrupt. Oprah was fired on her first TV anchor job, and Elon Musk's kids hate him. You know, this is something I see a lot, and I'm not going to say it's not true. I know he has a one child that definitely hates him, but I've not seen any evidence that all his other kids hate him. I feel like that's a lot of cope, but you know, I might be completely wrong. I'm willing to admit that, and frankly, I don't care. I think there's worse things you can say about Elon Musk than his kids hating him. The leader as a savior narrative is so deeply embedded in our culture that we've started to mistake wealth for wisdom. I've seen this on my video. I once just criticized like one thing Musk has done, and they were like, "Oh, you're some small. He's a billionaire. Like, what have you done?" So I didn't say I'd achieved anything. Anyway, I didn't articulate that very well, but I've been attacked before, basically, by just criticizing one thing about Elon Musk. Want proof? WeWork's Adam Neumann. Or Newman, I don't know how you guys pronounce it in America. I think technically it's Neumann. Once tried to trademark the word "we." That guy was insane, to be honest, and he got like a 3.3 billion sort of payout package for essentially running WeWork into the ground. Crazy. And does Gwyneth still have her candles? Gwyneth, why am I on caps locks? Gwyneth candles, I bet she still has. Oh, it's back in stock, guys. You know what to do. I've heard she's quite weird to work with as well. So entrepreneurship is just the lottery, but with more meetings. Interesting title. I think it was Peter Thiel who said, "You are not a lottery ticket." Peter Thiel, you are not a lottery ticket. I can't remember sort of his exact quote. A startup is the largest endeavor over which you can have definite mastery. You can have agency not just over your own life, but over a small and important part of the world. It begins by rejecting the unjust tyranny of chance. You are not a lottery ticket. He's always saying things in a slightly over philosophical way, I find. Here's the fact: almost every startup fails. This is true. This is just a fact. But I think we all have this like delusion that we're different. You know, we're built different. Starting a business in America is like attempting to climb Mount Everest in flip-flops with Aaron Rodgers, I don't know who that is, as your Sherpa. The odds are comically bad. Roughly 90% of startups end up going belly up. I think Elon, before everyone hated him, once called it, he gave a talk to a bunch of entrepreneurs, and it's actually similar to this article, what he was doing. He called starting a startup like eating glass and looking into the abyss, which is quite extreme, but that's what he said. Failure isn't just likely, it's the default. Again, this is true. But we don't talk about that because the American dream isn't built on math, it's built on hope. True. Humans in general don't really make logical decisions. I feel like I would say like partly logical decisions, more emotional decisions. It's probably I don't know what the split is. We are a country of delusional optimists. I would consider myself mostly a delusional optimist. I also think I give people the benefit of the doubt too much. I don't naturally assume the worst in people. I think I generally assume the best. Cheerfully ignoring facts while shouting things like, what if we're the exception? We said that. Spoiler alert, you're probably not. Yeah, you have to learn that you're probably not. You have to learn that. Here's a particularly bleak statistic. A 2021 report showed that almost half of all entrepreneurs earn less than $30,000 a year. Now, I don't know. I don't live in America, obviously. I think that's low. Like, when I see American wages, they're generally much higher than Europe. I know that they have a different structure. They have so it's not a one-to-one relationship, because £30,000 in the UK you can still do quite well. In America, I'm not sure, but that's not a lot. They're saying that's less than the average kindergarten teacher. It's funny they say kindergarten. I grew up in Germany and we used kindergarten. Here we say nursery. In the UK, kindergarten teachers don't have to explain to their spouses why they spent $10,000 on a logo redesign. True. To be fair, now they would just use AI, probably. The cult of hustle. Hustle culture is America's unofficial religion. I feel like this is I don't think this is just an American thing. I think hustle culture is quite big in... It does feel more sort of Western, if you will. And I guess a lot of the West is influenced by American media. So it could be the birthplace, surely. Rise and grind. I think younger people are sort of rejecting the grind, if you will. No one thinks it's worth it anymore. I think that's sort of where we are in a society where a lot of people don't think like working hard or hustling actually gets them anywhere. It's nonsense, of course. We've glorified burnout at the price of admission. People bragging about how they haven't taken a day off in 5 years. Yeah, this is definitely, again, I feel like this is sort of on the out. I feel like this is what's happening for the last 20 years, 25 years. And I think since COVID, I feel like COVID has been like a tipping point. Or maybe since Harambe died. Who knows? Things have changed a bit. I think, yeah. No one cares if you haven't taken a day off in 5 years. Here's the kicker. This obsession with hustle doesn't lead to better outcomes. Studies show that overwork leads to diminished productivity, impaired decision-making, and increased rates of depression. Yeah, I feel like I can fully attest to that. I'm going to be honest. In my sort of early 20s, I was really obsessed with like getting really good at coding and building things and trying various things. And I guess ultimately I feel like I learned a lot. But I did always end up in this place where I got burnt out and depressed. And I think I'm quite prone to depression. I have to sort of take care of myself, which I've become really good at. But yeah, this is something definitely I felt. This obsession with yeah, and it's silly because you do all this work and it's so much harder than just having a job. And most likely you're going to fail anyway. Yeah, so really just do things because you act like, I think to actually do something, to actually build something you care about, you have to be so dedicated for such a long time. So yeah. By the way, this ends on a more positive note. Why I love destroying dreams. This is why when people come to me with their big ideas, I do what any responsible human would do. I try to kill them. To be fair, I think most people have like a new form of ADHD these days, where they sort of are interested in something for about a day and then they move on to the next thing anyway. So I'll try to tear it apart piece by piece, pointing out the risks, the flaws, and the staggering unlikelihood of success. I'll tell them why the world probably doesn't need another app for artisanal dog treats, or an Uber for high fives. Yeah, I feel like apps are like, you need traffic. I feel like the only way to be successful is having social media presence, or connections, which kind of means you have to be like, I think, by the way, I think most ideas are terrible anyway. But I guess some people would say it's about execution. So I feel like I went off on a tangent there, just lost my train of thought completely. That's what happens when you do these like videos in one sitting. So either I succeed in talking them out of it, saving them years of pain, financial ruin and late night cries into their steering wheel, or I fail and they'll tell me to F off. And when that happens, I've probably found a real entrepreneur, and I may even cut a check. So what they're saying here, so here's the punchline, I don't need to say it, they can say it. If a stranger can kill someone's dream in 30 minutes, it's not a real dream. This is just a reality, right? I'll probably just save them an incredible amount of heartache. Real entrepreneurs can't be swayed. Real entrepreneurs want to prove the world wrong. Entrepreneurship isn't about ideas, funding, or the perfect pitch. It's about stubbornness. It's about having the sheer, unrelenting audacity to keep going even when the world and people like me tell you to stop. I do think this is true. I do think this is genuinely the only way you can be successful. There's always outliers. There's always going to be someone who like does something and accidentally hits it big first time, you know. But generally speaking, you know, like I said, 90% of entrepreneurs fail, and you have to have this like insane stubbornness to build something, to build an actual company. I'm not talking about, you know, building an affiliate website or something like this, but like actually building a startup. I gave up on that dream, to be honest. I realized it's not for me. It's not my personality. I enjoy doing this, which is why I'm doing it now. And I can do this and do my job and live my life. I don't want to currently, you know, maybe one day in the future, I don't want to spend 120 hours a week working to build something that, yeah, I don't know, might fail. And it's not even that. I think I just have nothing that I believe in to that extent. Not currently. I don't have like a technology I want to develop at all costs. Anyway, yeah, let me know your thoughts below. I'd love to hear from you. Please like and subscribe. Check out this article and give it a like. I think it deserves some more love. I don't actually have an account, so ironically I can't leave a like. I did try. But yeah, thanks for watching.